If you're a statist that likes making excuses for government violence, make a video about John. If you wear funny hats and run through the woods at the playground, make videos about John. If you like to skip over facts and oversimplify reality, if you wear funny hats, hang out in the parks, and make stupid videos, clap your hands. How's it going, guys? Here's a video by, let's see if I can figure out how to do this. The tripod thingy here. Make it flip over. I'm not as tech savvy as this guy here, as you're going to find out. Oh, did I get it? I think I got it there. There you is. This is Kevin. I want you guys to meet Kevin. The name of this video is... Okay. I'll take a look at that, Tasha. Tasha Travels with Tasha. Please subscribe. Amazing person. Amazing lady. Very smart. Where was I? Oh, yeah, we're meeting Kevin. Hi, Kevin. Nice hat, bro. I like that a lot. It might be restricting some oxygen. I'll explain to you why here soon. So, this video is called Crazy Man on YouTube. And the crazy man on YouTube is me, according to Kevin here. So let's see if I can flip this camera the other way here. Tripod action. Probably should have practiced this once before I start. Oh, okay, there we go. All right, Tasha, I'll check that out. I'm assuming she means cream-filled donut operator. I need to cover his videos too. So, what an image. So, this guy spent countless hours, went to several different locations, as you're going to see, and did tons of video editing, which is very time-consuming, to try to make me look bad because I'm against government violence against peaceful people. So let's watch why this guy thinks that I'm crazy.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure how he got clickbait. I'm not quite sure how he got clickbaited on this one, but today we're talking about John Filax's video on whether or not he owns a property, which he actually owns. And he's also quite...
Whether or not he owns property, which he actually owns. He's talking about a plot of land I have in Frostproof, Florida. And the video I made is about property taxes, which are direct taxes that are taken under threat of violence.
well known to the police.
You're a lying, stupid, sovereign citizen piece of shit. How's it going, John?
So you see, he's done all this video editing. He scoured my channel. I have 1,800 videos. I'd say about, I don't know, only in the past year and a half have I been heavy on the police videos because some stupid cop pulled me over when I was not speeding and decided to steal my money anyway. This guy is all for government theft of money under threat of violence. And he's going to spend this whole video trying to explain to you why government threats of violence against peaceful people are necessary.
So let's get started, because somehow, for some reason, because Mr. John owns a property that he bought for $19,000 right before the market plummeted, and because he thinks...
Here's a straw man arguments he's going to make is how much the property tax is for. Let me just nail him down point by point here.
He should be able to exchange that plot of dirt that he spent $19,000 on for a car at a car dealership.
So I called up about 12 dealerships and I offered them my property as an even exchange for a Cadillac Alante.
Yet, nobody wants that plot of dirt. And because John had to pay $153 in property taxes for an entire year of land taxes, it's very obvious that John must not truly be the owner of this plot of land.
Okay. It must be true that John must not truly be the owner. And he showed I don't know what he showed, some county record or something. The idea of ownership, brother, I don't know, you might want to take your hat off for this one. When I buy razor blades, do I own them or do I still have to pay a taxes on those? Or is it mine? At what point do I get to keep my razor blades that I shave my face with? How about a bar of soap? Do I own that? Or is the government just letting me use that as long as I pay them for the ability to drive on the road that led me to Walmart to buy the soap?
No, he doesn't have a loan on it.
You're not the owner of your house. You're not the owner of your property. If you have to pay somebody else for it, you're not the owner.
See, John...
That's a pretty simple concept there. Kevin, I think is your name. I already forgot your name, bro. Sorry. You're not that relevant, but I'm going to make sure your video gets a lot more views and your channel gets more famous. You're going to get the John Filax rub right here. All right?
Makes the argument that he doesn't own his plot of land simply because he has to pay property taxes on it.
That's correct. Constitutional taxes are indirect taxes, like gasoline taxes, where if you don't want to pay gasoline taxes, you don't buy gasoline. If you don't want to pay cigarette taxes, you don't smoke cigarettes. Those are constitutional taxes. I'm not against all taxes. Property taxes are a direct tax under threat of violence. You don't pay, we're going to take it from you. You try to keep your own property, we're going to send guys with guns. If you try to defend yourself and your property from the guys with guns that are coming to take it from you, they will kill you for your property, regardless if the tax is $153 or if the tax is $10,000. That's irrelevant. That's a straw man argument. The part you keep skipping over is that if you don't pay them, they take your property. That means in realistic terms, in reality, it's not yours. You understand that? That's ownership. There's nobody saying, John, pay me $153. Or you can never buy razor blades again. I'm not going to give you your razor blades. I'm going to come take them all. Bust their nuts because that's what government deserves.
Piece of
When you pull back out, please be careful.
Go your mother.
He even refers.
So that's the line that everybody can't deal with. I told a guy with a gun. Actually, I'm sorry, it was two guys with a gun. I thought I was speaking to both of them. I hope the other one was within earshot. Two guys with the guns are stopping me from working on the side of the road so they can steal my money at gunpoint under threat of violence. Again, this is the thing this guy is going to keep pushing, that threats of violence from government against peaceful people is freedom. You know, you get to own your property as long as you pay them. They won't send the guys with guns. That's what this guy thinks is freedom.
To the dictionary definition of what ownership is.
I'm not debating either. I'm just going by the dictionary.
But let's take a look at that for a second. Wikipedia suggests that ownership is the exclusive right
Wikipedia.
and control. Merriam-Webster says that ownership is the legal right or title to something, and dictionary.com says you possess or control something. Now, let's look.
Correct. So, if I don't pay their extortion money they're asking me for, do I control and have sole right and control over the property? No. Well, I mean, you're putting that up like you're proving me wrong. I don't have sole right or control or any of that if somebody else can just come and say, it's ours now, and if you do anything about it, we'll send guys with guns, and if you try to defend your property, guys with guns will kill you over $153. And if you're denying this reality, Kevin, you take the hat off, dude. Get some fresh air. Let your hair grow. Think about the reality of the situation.
What can John do with the property that he is so upset for having had to pay $153 on? So we know.
That's a good question, because one time I went up to the city hall and I said, I own that little plot of land there. If I wanted to set up a tent and live there, could I? And the guy right away, he's like, no, you can't do that. I asked several things I could do, and the answer is always no. And if they do let you, like this guy's going to say that they let me build property there. They let me build property. He doesn't get the whole threat of violence.
That John has to pay $153 in taxes to control this property for a year. But what does that allow him to do? That gives him
$153 in taxes to control this property for a year. That's called renting, bro. That's not ownership. I get to rent the property from the county or the government. I get to rent my own See, you're missing something. It's called reality. If I have to rent my own property, it's not mine. I'm a renter.
right to build on it, to sell it, to mow it or not mow it. He could make a garden if he wanted to, or not. He could also just...
if I try to not mow it, they send 7-page letters to my house full of red ink, acting like they're going to take me to some quasi-court somewhere. This guy has no clue what goes on. No clue.
collect recyclable bottles on it if you wanted to just do something basic.
So yeah, people cut through my property all the time to get to the apartments, and they leave their trash there. I'm over 80 miles away from there. Again, what's your point? You've stalked my channel so much, and you've gone to several locations, and you're in the playgrounds playing in the woods, and you've done all this editing and all this time to prove to me what, bro? That I should have to pay an entity under threat of violence in order to be able to own property. Look in the mirror and say that, okay? I can't believe you spent this much time to make this video.
Like that. So to me, it seems like he's in control, but he seems to be upset for some other reason.
Nice boots.
He seems to be in control. What am I in control of, dude? How am I in control? If another person can come take your property from you, it's not yours. That's reality, bro. You're not living in reality otherwise. And again, you cutting all these clips, that means you've probably spent weeks watching me. And you just can't wrap your mind around the idea of freedom and that we don't need all these bureaucrats and all these unconstitutional laws and codes and ordinances and tax under threat of violence. That's not constitutional tax.
I think the real reason he's upset is not because he has to pay $150 in property taxes.
Because you're stupid.
Now this is where he just goes on to his little fedora conspiracy theory.
And you're a liar.
It's that he blames society for having told him that
Blame society. When have I ever blamed society for anything? The overwhelming majority of society are peaceful, nonviolent people who don't believe in violence. I'm sorry, I take that back. Because about 40% of Americans do believe in socialist style policies like these ordinances and property taxes. Like, he keeps harping on the fact that it's $153. So a guy down the street from me pays $14,000 a year. What difference does it make? $14,000 versus $153. The principle is still the same, Kevin. Guys with guns will come and take your stuff. That means it's not yours. And if you try to stop them, they will kill you, whether it's 1 penny or $1 million. You're missing and skipping over the principle of the argument.
Everybody should have bought land before the Great Recession.
Everyone back then, this was before the 2008 crash, they said, buy land, buy land.
So he bought his land for $19,000, and now today can't trade his land to a car dealer to try to pick up.
That's correct. Well, so what's your point, dude? You're trying to what? Downplay what? I don't get this. Trying to make fun of me? I tried to trade my property for a Cadillac Elante. So what? What's your point? This is where you're just trying to gloss over the fact that guys with guns will kill you if you try to keep this so-called property that you're claiming that I own. If I don't pay them and I still try to keep my property, they will kill me for it. You could throw in these little memes and you spend all these hours chopping up my videos. The reason
Up in 11 to 14.
The reason I even turned this on was I was trying to find the first video I ever published on YouTube because I totally forgot what it was. And so I Google my name and I see this douchebag right here. He looks like a millennial. And he's traveled to so many places and tried to make this video look like it has credibility. That's so funny.
$1,000 car. But look, people have arguments that don't make sense all of the time. I'm not so worried about the thought that John doesn't think he should have to pay taxes. What more bothers...
There's another non-factual lie. I'd have no problem paying taxes. Constitutional taxes. I do have a serious problem with the guy with the gun saying I need to pay him or else. That's called violence. That's called threat. That's not freedom, Kevin. That's not American. The whole idea of the American dream was you work hard, you buy your land, then you own your land. You own the American dream, and you can pass your land down to your family. You root in. You're an American. You're an owner. You're not a slave to the government. You're not under threat of violence.
Is that he is sending a message to viewers, folks like y'all, that says, hey, you're being forced, you're being coerced to pay property taxes. And
that's correct. You are being forced. People pay property taxes out of fear. That's a good screenshot there. Hold on, Kevin. Let me screenshot you. John Elway would be proud. I just lost my train of thought. Let's go back.
You ain't getting anything. viewers, folks like y'all, that says, hey, you're being forced, you're being coerced to pay property taxes, and you ain't getting anything.
You ain't getting any. You're being forced to pay property taxes, and you ain't getting anything. You are being forced to pay property taxes. The overwhelming majority of people pay property taxes under threat, and they do it because they're under threat. They don't. How many people do you honestly believe would pay the government for their own property? They pay enough in taxes from their paychecks, from every other million other taxes they pay for the government to provide simple things like roads and parks and blah, blah, blah. But you're going to see Kevin's going to use that straw man also and then refer back to the amount of money the cops are willing to kill you over. The government sends the cops, you know. It always comes down to gunmen at the end. With the government. That's the part Kevin is missing.
It's the message that he's transcribing. But wait a minute, let's look into this a little bit. As much as John is frustrated, it seems like he conveniently...
So he throws that clip in there where I was detained at a checkpoint in my own neighborhood, and I was told that I need to surrender my Fourth Amendment in order to go home. So he puts a 1 second blip in there when the actual situation was, those cops were telling me, surrender your Fourth Amendment right, or we're not going to let you go to your own home. Again, did you miss that, Kevin, while you were stalking my channel? Did you miss that part? They were saying, surrender your Fourth Amendment if you want to go home. You agree with that, too, because this whole video you're spending trying to convince people that government violence against peaceful people is okay. Kevin, it's not. Again, get some air under that hat there.
Neglects to realize that he's got a beautiful new paved street.
I have a beautiful new paved street. I have a beautiful new paved street. That street wasn't paid for by gasoline taxes years and years and years and decades before I got there. There's a lie right there.
Sewage in the road in case he ever wanted to build and hook up to. This
sewage in the road. Okay. What's your point? What does that have to do with being forced under threat of violence to pay for something that you're claiming is mine? How could it be mine? And look how much he even just stalked my property on Google Earth. This guy's gone to such an extreme to try to justify government violence against peaceful people. This is the extreme this guy's gone to.
City coordinated for him to have access to water and power grid utilities, yet doesn't want to contribute
power grid utility. The thing is, if you try to build, they charge you like an extra $20,000 all on top of the property tax, on top of all the gasoline taxes you paid for the roads, on top of the electric company is a private company anyway. What's that have to do with government? And I didn't use any of those things. It's a blank piece of property. This, again, those are straw mans, Kevin. The fact of the matter is, the reality of the situation is, whether it's $153 or $14,000 like some people down the street pay for me, guys with guns, the government is willing to send guys with guns to take your property from you if you don't pay them the extortion fee. And if you try to keep your own property, which you're claiming it's mine, if it's mine, I'm allowed to fight for it, right? With lethal force. If it's mine and I own it, right, Kevin? They're willing to kill me over $153. And that's why people pay property taxes. They don't pay them for the reasons you're about to blurt.
$53 a year to help pay for these things. Doesn't want to contribute towards roads, doesn't want to contribute to schools.
Doesn't want to contribute towards roads. Those are paid for by gasoline taxes, and I've bought enough gas in my life to drown out a million Kevins, believe me.
Parks, because otherwise he'll be threatened and
doesn't want to pay for parks. So in Kevin's small mind here, parks cannot be built unless guys with guns are threatening you if you don't pay them an extortion fee for property you supposedly own. Again, Kevin's living in this vortex of upside down world. John, you do own your property, but you can't own your property. But you have to pay them or they'll take your property. That's how freedom works, John. Kevin, that's not how freedom works. I either own it or I don't own it. We're not going to play this gray area legalese. Either it's mine or it's not mine. There's no in between. I'm sorry, buddy. It's either my property and you can't send guys with guns to take it from me, or it's not. Stop trying to play and spin and This guy's too easy.
Property will be taken away. But let's look at the actual legal concept. When you buy a property, contribute towards roads, doesn't want to contribute to schools or parks, because otherwise he'll be threatened and his property will be taken away. But let's look at the actual legal concept. When you buy a property, you receive disclosures that let you know when you buy this property, the first person that has the right to assess fees and payments against it is your tax assessor. And
okay, so first of the part of the video, he says, I own the property. Now he's saying, well, they told you they're the first owners and the first people that get to do whatever they want with your property. Then it's not my property, Kevin. And whether there's disclosure or not, it's not like there's a little box where I can check, well, I opt out. It's done under threat of violence, the part you keep skipping over in this video. I'm going to rewind that again in case I missed something, because this guy's really smart.
that's because they are helping. When you buy this property, the first person that has the right to assess fees and payments against it is your tax assessor. And
so the tax assessor owns the property and has the first rights. It's his property. And then after that, if I want to pay them $20,000, I could put a structure on it. But I have to pay them a $20,000 extortion fee first.
that's because they are helping make access to your property possible. They are helping
to make access to your property possible. So again, this guy thinks that without government threats of violence, there is no way people in America could figure out a way to make access to their own property. This is a statist through and through right here. Socialist. This is your democratic socialist, where if 51% of the people vote that you don't get to own property, then you don't get to own it. And guys with guns can come and take it from you.
make schools possible and utilities possible, or
make schools and utilities possible. So before the government was threatening people with violence to pay their yearly thing, there was no schools, there was no parks. America was a wasteland. Dude, you might want to read some history. You could take 98% of government away, and America would be the freest, most civilized, functioning country like it used to be. You're lost, bro. You're lost. Government is like fire. You have to control it. Anyone that promotes taxes under threat of violence is not an American, dude. I'm sorry, you're not an American. If you believe that gunmen should be allowed to take people's I paid $19,000 cash for it. I worked very hard for my $19,000. I also had to pay tax on the $19,000 that year because I owned a restaurant, and then I had to pay the tax on all the employees. Okay, so it's not like it's $153. It's a progressive. It's like the first or second plank of the Communist Manifesto. Progressive taxation under threat of violence. Yeah.
just like this one possible. See, folks, here's the thing. I'm all about giving you a different perspective, a different angle, a different look on what
socialist perspective
these things actually mean and how they matter. I get to sit on this railing at this public park because somebody is paid to make sure that the bolts are tight and safe.
Because somebody paid. He gets to sit on that jungle gym at the park because somebody, again, he's attributing the threats of violence to having jungle gyms at the park. So in his mind, unless the government is threatening you, pay them or else we're going to steal your property, that there'd be no parks, there would be no jungle gyms, and the Americans couldn't figure out how to torque down a nut or a bolt or whatever the hell they're called to a jungle gym. This is this guy's perspective. You dress nice. Hey, Drew, I'll give you that. You dress nice. I like the cufflinks. I like the jacket. The fedora, I don't know. It's too much. You're overdoing it. You're trying too hard, man. Relax.
Checks the benches and make sure that all this is safe. As much as I don't like paying taxes, I do it because I know it provides a service for me.
There's another lie. He does it because he knows it provides a service. You are such a liar right here, bro. The 99.9%, if not 100% of people pay property taxes because they're under threat of violence. To say otherwise is a bald-faced lie. And to say you pay it because you know it provides you services. You would not. You could say this all you want. You would not pay property taxes if it was not under threat of violence. You're a liar, dude. You're disingenuous. Excuse me. Too busy looking at your dapper clothing.
Do I disagree with some government expenditures? Sure. We could have debates about that all day long, but the point is...
Oh, he disagrees with some expenditures. Well, I mean, we could debate about the expenditures, but we can't debate about guys with guns threatening to take your property if you don't pay them the extortion money. We can't talk about that. Listen, John, you just take the threats of violence, you pay, whether it's on the side of the road by guys with guns or on your own property with guys with guns, and then after that, we can debate stuff. We can't put a halt to that stuff. We need violence against peaceful people. Again, I've never hurt anyone in my life. Haven't been in a car accident in over 20 some years. I'm as safe as can be. I don't like bothering people. I don't bother anyone until they bother me first. You know, don't start with me. Don't bother me, and I won't bother you. That day with the speeding ticket, I'm traveling to work. I had just dropped someone off, and I was going to pick up a few coins. I'm literally working with the cruise control on, and guys with guns, 3 deep, decide that I need to pay them because I was not hurting anyone and not bothering anybody. These are the things this Kevin agrees with.
Yes, let's do a little bit of perspective math. At $156 a year to come up with
This is funny.
$50,000 to pay somebody an annual salary of $38,000 of company vehicle or county vehicle or whatever, insurances, payroll taxes, vacation time, general liability insurance.
So he's worried about a government employee getting all these 401ks and benefits and company vehicles. So he's worried about the government employee. He's not worried about the taxpayer, obviously.
Whatsoever, just have one person go around and check to maintain all the parks for a year with a tiny salary of just $38,000 a year. It would take 326 Johns to pay.
Okay, so it would take again, this is another straw man. It would take 326 of my property tax money to pay a government bureaucrat $38,000 a year. And he's like, only 38. That's more than I make, bro. What do you mean only $38,000 a year? Paid for by the taxpayer. What are you talking about? Under threat. And again, you don't think we could have a park if it wasn't for government threatening and stealing money under threat of violence? I mean, are you serious? Are you being serious? And look how much time you spent, how many locations you went to try to make me look bad, to try to justify government violence. Oh, so yeah, it takes 136 Johns to pay one bureaucrat $38,000, but it only takes 3 people who live in Cheval here in Tampa to do the same thing. That's not the point. The point is they're threatening you with violence if you don't give them your property. Give us your property in the form of cash, or we're going to take all your property. That's the point, Kevin. What just happened? Get out of here. Go back. Go back to Kevin. Kevin's awesome. That hat, though, man. That hat. There you go, Kevin. Let's get you the right way.
For this one tiny service.
So let's just sit here and record them and let them know who actually pays their paychecks.
This doesn't even come close. It doesn't even scratch the surface of rape.
So and again, let's look at perspective. He keeps going to that. It's $153. So they're willing to kill me over $153. Let's start there. Secondly, I've owned 3 restaurants with double-digit employees, probably 30 to 35 over the course of 12 years. I had to match. They each had to pay 7.65 in FICA Medicare, and I had to match each employee 7.65% before I got any money. So I've probably paid more in taxes than you've even earned in your life between 3 restaurants over 12 years. If you want some perspective there, Kevy boy. And again, when you run a business in America, you're constantly under threat because if you make a mistake with the booking or the auditing and this or that, the IRS could send a SWAT team, as they have done over and over again, and just raid your business on a phone call, on a whim, on a hunch. Dude, if you think this is what freedom is, by the way, this little snapshot I got of him here, he kind of looks like George Burns. That's what he's going to look like in 30 years. He made his Humphrey Bogart, this is what I'm going to look like in 30 years face right here.
Paving the street or putting a sewer line in, yet somehow John's 1 in 326th share of that sample little budget right there for one person to help.
Again, another straw man argument. What about the hundreds of thousands I've paid in payroll taxes, dude. You're an idiot. You're using straw man. Again, you're trying to justify government threats of violence.
The city gives John the moral right, or the implicit right, to complain and to suggest that you don't own the property. Well, John, how's this?
I have the implicit right to complain about anything the government does. It's the First Amendment, Kevin, right to right for redress of grievances. I do have the implicit right. What else did he say? Let me rewind that.
The city gives John the moral right, or the implicit right, to complain and to suggest that you don't own the property. Well,
I have the implicit right to complain, and I say you don't own property because how can you own something when guys with guns can just come and take it from you and kill you to take it? You don't own it. Kevin, do you own that hat, or do you pay, as long as you pay taxes on it, you own it, or do you own it? Which one is it?
John, how's this for perspective? When you go to resell that property one day...
Nice action maneuver there, Kevin. Oh man. Why didn't I think of that? Go to the taxpayer-funded monkey bars and do an action shot. Swooping under there like a millennial hero with nice cufflinks.
$30,000, let's say. How about you give that $11,000 in gains over to the county?
If it's mine, why would I have to pay you? If I have to pay you, then it's not mine. It's you.
Again, if I have to pay you for something, how could it be mine? That doesn't make any logical sense, Kevin.
How about that?
Because guess what? They own the property. You don't. See you around, John.
That's correct. They own it, and then they take another 20% of your gains, Kevin. Then they take... So, if I made $11,000, they would take another $3,500 of that, plus all the money they took over the years, and all of it's under threat. And this stupid face you're making like you prove some kind of point. Here's the bottom line, bro, and I'm going to repeat it like I have been for a half hour now. If I buy something and it's mine, that means it's mine. It doesn't mean it's mine as long as I pay someone else. If I have to pay somebody else, this is a simple concept. That means it's theirs. And I'm just paying them so I can use it. That's called renting, basically, or leasing. You understand how that works? And then if I did somehow turn a profit from it, they would steal some of that under threat of violence too. I mean, I don't know how many parks you hang out in or how many parks they need, but Americans pay, let's see, we're $3 trillion in the Middle Eastern War, probably 10 years ago we spent. $3 trillion to kill people, Kevin, right? 3 people for the violence. You probably condone that too. $3 trillion probably could have built a new school and park in every single city, county. I mean, there'd be a park inside the park. You'd have Central Park, and then you'd have Inner Central Park with that kind of money. But again, Kevin's more worried that people should believe they own their property, even though guys with guns can come and kill them for it if they don't pay the government. I'm sorry, bro. You're delusional. I don't know what this picture is of you. You're a good dresser, dude. Lose the hat. I don't know. Don't show so much teeth. Cufflinks are cool. I make some silver cufflinks, dude. I'd make them for you if you change your mind and understand that violence against peaceful people, purple people here. Pause. Violence against peaceful people, Kevin, is not a good thing. That's not freedom. That's not the American way. I know you're indoctrinated and you believe in the socialist ideas of community and that everyone must pay under threat of violence or else we won't have a park. We won't have the bullets won't be torqued down enough at the jungle gym if the government doesn't threaten us to steal our property, which I owned at the beginning of the video. And then in the middle of the video, you said the tax assessor owns. You're contradicting yourself in your own video. Anyway, I've given you enough time. You do have 82,000 subscribers. I haven't looked at any of your other material. It might be good, but I doubt it because you seem like a mainstream socialist from what I'm seeing here. What else? Again, Kevin, violence against peaceful people is not freedom. It's not good. Violence is a bad thing. I don't know who raised you to think that guys with guns should tell free Americans what they can and cannot own, and if they don't pay the government that they can come and kill them for their property. I don't know who taught you that that's okay, but it's not okay, Kevin. All right, guys, don't subscribe to Kevin, but do subscribe to John Filax. And, see if I can read you some of this description here. This has to stop, capital letters. He typed this from his safe space at the park. John Filax or Felix, it's neither one of those, so this guy's like hooked on phonics on top of it, made a video about how government owns his land because he's unable to trade it for a Cadillac. Again, for a Cadillac Alante. That's not what I said. I said the government owns my land because if I don't pay them for it, they will send guys with guns to take it from me. So you even lied in your description, bro. How fake are you? Somehow the demand to pay property taxes stripes John of his property ownership. Yes, it does. I can't own property if I have to pay somebody else for it. These are simple concepts, Kevin. Before you turn on the camera, man, think about realistically what you're saying. If I have to pay someone else for my property, it's not mine. Yet what is his argument? And does he have a leg to stand on? I have two legs to stand on. John Filax is known as a YouTuber who verbally fights cops and makes videos antagonizing them. There's another lie. I've never antagonized a cop. They stop me and steal my money. Again, Kevin overlooks the violence factor in government. He's pretending like government in and of itself isn't violence based. That's why the founder said it should be controlled like a fire. Fire is useful, but if you let it get out of control, we all burn, right, Kevin? So you're lying here in your description too. That's a shame. Is this a taste of his own medicine? I mean, if you had a legitimate point, it might be a taste of my own medicine, but I can counter. That's the